This is the AB4WS radio show. Every week, bringing you the exciting amateur radio news and information happening in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana areas.
The AB4WS radio show can be found on the Apple Podcast app or your favorite podcast application. And now also available on the AB4WS radio show YouTube channel. Congratulations to KG8Y, who received a nice plaque for his score in the Kentucky QSO Party, Kentucky Mixed Low Power category. Congratulations, Tom. Congratulations to Richard Flippin, KE9DWU, and Christine Bowling, KE9DWT of Florence, Indiana, who both passed their technician class exams at the last NKARC testing session. Welcome to the wonderful hobby of ham radio. Some neat band openings have been heard in the last few days on the medium-wave AM broadcast bands, where distant commercial AM stations have been heard in the evening, presumably due to a large coronal hole along the north ridge of the sun, which recently came into Earth view. So get out those receivers and do some broadcast band DXing. September 7th is the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club monthly Simplex Net on 146.580 at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, which is always held on the first Sunday of the month. They invite any licensed amateur radio operator to join them by checking in. Perhaps you cannot hear the net control station at your location. Well, no problem. Just listen and eventually you'll hear a station who will take your check-in and relay it into net control. The net starts by stations who can hear net control. Then each of those stations put out calls and take check-ins from stations who can hear them. And then the next set of check-ins will be asked to put out calls and take check-ins for their stations that can hear them. After the net, you then post who you're able to hear on your net report on the NKARCgroups.io page. This is an effective way to test your equipment and to learn how you can use your equipment if something happened and the repeaters were all off the air. It is also a great training opportunity. A pro tip is to open your squelch on the radio, and you'll be amazed by how many other signals you'll be able to hear in the noise that is usually squelched out. So the first Sunday night of the month at 6 p.m., tune to 146.580 and join the net. On August 20th, W4ZKE Joe Colson, 88 years of age, from Olympia, Kentucky, became a silent key. Our thoughts and prayers to his family and friends. Also passing away was the 100-year-old father of Bill Donnemeyer, NM4A. Bill's dad, also called Bill, was William Donnemeyer Sr. and passed away on August 24th at the age of 100 years. Bill's dad was a very proud Navy veteran of World War II and the Korean War, where he served as a radio man aboard naval vessels. He retired as a pipe fitter with the Pipe Fitters Local 392 out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He served as a councilman in Bellevue, Kentucky for several years, and then as a Kentucky state representative for 25 years, and acted as the House Majority Caucus chairman for 14 of those years. He was very active in representing his constituents and introduced over 100 bills of legislation. He was an instrumental part in the committee to develop the Northern Kentucky State College, which ultimately became Northern Kentucky University. He was also a member of the Bellevue Vets and the VFW Post 2899 in Dayton, Kentucky. Bill's dad was also an active volunteer for many organizations, including the St. Vincent de Paul and other church and city committees. Our thoughts and prayers to Bill's family and friends. Also becoming a silent key this week was Veronica Conrad, KG4JHO of Louisville, Kentucky. Prayers to her family and friends. The 220 megahertz amateur band is making a big resurgence. The N4TNS Club now has a new repeater on 224.180 with a encode PL tone of 151.4 and a decode PL tone of 100. They're dedicating getting this repeater back on the air in memory of silent key Patrick Dixon, N4SQV, who passed in 2023 and had run the repeater previously. Eventually, it'll be connected to 3 other repeaters. Also, while we're talking about 220 being great again, let's make sure that you check into the little event every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the WW4KY 224.4 repeater with a PL tone of 100 Hz. Or you can connect via All-Star by connecting to All-Star node 61054 or Echolink by connecting to WW4KY-R. Remember, we're not there for a long time, just there for a short time, since the little event is followed by the big event with Jeff, KF8PO, at 8:30 p.m. on the 224.620 repeater for those that can hit that repeater in Cincinnati. Check out the Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society's YouTube channel for the most recent video where Frank, AB4WS, interviews a bunch of the bar's members in the shack on August 23rd. While I have never met Frank, he seems to be quite the entertaining character. The Letcher County Amateur Radio Club believes that while ham radio is important, there's a place for CB and GMRS communications as well. Letcher County is known for its numerous hiking trails and maintained by the Pine Mountain Trail Conference and the Bad Branch Falls Trails, and also the amount of hunting and off-road ATV activity in the area. They also realize not everyone has a ham radio license, and there is a need for communications in the Letcher County area. So the club has approved the installation of a GMRS repeater, WRJB355 on Pine Mountain, with a frequency of 462.55 and a PL tone of 103.5. They encourage everyone to obtain their GMRS license and utilize the new repeater. This system will add to the safety of the community in the Letcher County Pine Mountain area. Are you looking to study for your technician class license? Well, starting on Thursday, September 4th and running through October 16th for a total of 7 sessions, the Amateur Radio Club of the National Electronics Museum will be holding a free weekly live technician class licensing course over Zoom at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The 3-hour sessions will be recorded so you can go back and rewatch areas of special interest. To sign up for this free technician class licensing course, email Roland at roland@comcast.net. Volunteers are needed to sign up before August 31st for the Air Force Marathon to be held on September 20th. If you're interested in signing up, please contact Bob, N8ADO, at n8ado.bob@gmail.com. Amateur radio volunteers are needed for the annual Limestone Bicycle Tour in Maysville, Kentucky, September 6th, starting at 7 a.m. They provide essential communications for the 20, 40, 60, and 100-mile bicycle tour, which travels around Maysville and the surrounding counties in the area. To sign up and for more information, please contact Mike Mullins, KN4COE, at kn4coe@gmail.com. Amateur radio operator volunteers are needed on September 6th for the Young's Charity Bike Ride. This relatively large event has a good number of participants and covers a large geographical area, so many hams are needed. Start and finish is at Young's Dairy Bar north of Yellow Springs, Ohio. The event starts at 8 a.m. and usually finished by 5 p.m. For more information or to volunteer, email Bob, N8ADO, at n8ado.bob@gmail.com. If you're interested in challenges, there's a neat event coming up on August 30th from the Maritime Radio Historical Society called the Crypto Transmission from KPH, scheduled at $2,000 UTC on August 30th. The event will send a German Enigma-coded message using Morse code via the KPH Coast radio station on 6 non-amateur frequencies. The message will be rebroadcast 15 minutes later using 45 baud RTTY on 3 different frequencies. Listeners can try their hand at receiving and decrypting the message. Certificates will be awarded for successful decodes, but there's a time limit of 48 hours from the start of the transmissions to submit their entries by email. For full information on this historic event, go to radiomarine.org/MRHS-EVENTS. On September 6th, the Ukiah Amateur Radio Society is looking for ham radio operators to man the booth at the Harvest Home Fair, one of the main Ukiah fundraisers. If you can help out, contact Rocky, KE8DZS. On September 6th, the Ukiah Amateur Radio Society will once again set up at the Cincinnati Museum Center from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the 1940s Day. If you can volunteer to help out at this event, contact George, N3VQW. September 6th is the Ohio State Parks on the Air event, and the Ukiah Amateur Radio Society is planning on participating in this event. If you're interested, contact Jesse, KD8OOB. September 6th, the Route 66 special event will initiate their 26th anniversary of the event, which will run through September 14th. The event commemorates the history of the Mother Road, connecting east and west areas of the United States from Illinois to California. W6A through W6V will be active with 22 stations participating using these call signs. Each stations will post their own station schedule. A certificate and decal is available. For more information on the event, go to w6jbt.org. The Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society will hold their annual family picnic on September 8th at the Shiloh Park, Shelter Number 2. The Brunch Bunch will be meeting on September 13th at 1 p.m. at the Frisch's Big Boy, 11122 Hamilton Avenue in Mount Healthy. Come on out and enjoy some real Frisch's food. The Monix Group is planning their September meeting to be held on September 20th at 6 p.m. at the Holscher Park at the Greater Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport. They possibly will also check out the observation area at CVG. All this is in the planning stage and is contingent on a number of factors, so stay tuned. A Parks on the Air meetup is planned after the Paintsville Hamfest on September 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time at the Paintsville Lake State Park, US 1270. Are you ready for the simulated emergency test known as SET on October 4th and 5th, where Aries and Emergency Communications Group demonstrates their abilities to provide communications to the served agencies? The time now for your group to start planning in their participation in the SET event. For more information, go to awrl.org/simulated-emergency-test. The Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Radio Club will be conducting live online classes to get your technician class license. The classes will be held via Zoom and run for 6 weeks from Sunday, October 5th through November 9th. Sessions are from 1:30 to 4 p.m. All ages are welcome. For more information and or to register, visit tiny.cc/BAHAM. On October 11th, the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club will be holding a Parks on the Air event at US 3779, the Big Bone Lick State Historic Site on Kentucky 338 in Big Bone, Kentucky, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So if you're interested in POTA, or if you want to see what this radio thing is all about, come on out. Even if you don't have a ham radio license, we may be able to put you on the air with a control operator. It's lots of fun to play radio in the park.
Repeater news.
The Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society has a new repeater on the air in Georgetown, Kentucky on 443.100 and is connected to Wires X. Currently, coverage is not very good, but expect to improve when the repeater's location is moved soon. Currently, the 6-meter repeater in Walton, Kentucky on 53.85 is experiencing a problem where it's not passing audio. KG4MVN is working on correcting this. Are you looking for the most up-to-date list of repeaters in the greater Cincinnati area? Well, I have an Excel spreadsheet where I've listed repeaters that are active in the area, separated by tabs for each band or mode, so you can easily look for just DMR repeaters or 2-meter analog repeaters and so on. The list includes 2 meters, 220, 440, 6 meters, D-Star, DMR, C4FM, P25, and some other classifications. Every time I update the file, I include the date and the file name so that you know you have the latest update. To download the file, go to the AB4WS Radio Show Facebook page and go to the file section and download the file. If you're not on Facebook, email me at ab4ws.radio@gmail.com and I can email you the latest file. If you see any errors, problems, additions, or corrections, email that information to ab4ws.radio@gmail.com.
Hamfest.
August 30th is the Athens Trunk Fest at the Athens Masonic Lodge, 12 West Carpenter Street in Athens, Ohio. On Saturday, September 6th is the Greater Louisville Hamfest 2025 at the Parquet Springs Conference Center, 395 Parquet Springs Drive in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. This year will be free admission for anyone under 16 years of age. Also, scouts and scout leaders in uniform can get free admission as well. Exciting forums on POTA, digital networking, and the ARRL. Major prizes include a Yaesu FT891 and an MFJ 1536 tri-band pulsar antenna, as well as many others. QLF contest is back again this year, and they'll be awarding the Kentucky Amateur of the Year Award. For more information or to purchase your ticket, go to LouisvilleHamfest.com. September 7th is the Findlay, Ohio Hamfest at the Hancock County Fairgrounds, 1017 East Sandusky Street in Findlay, Ohio. On September 13th, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the Richmond, Kentucky Hamfest at the Madison County Fairgrounds, 3237 Old Irwin Road in Richmond, Kentucky. September 13th is a Swap Meet Hamfest at the Merchants Landing Bingo Hall, 6182 Summit Street in Toledo, Ohio. For more information, go to lucasARES.org. On September 17th is a Paintsville, Kentucky Hamfest at the Paintsville Recreation Center, 232 Preston Street in Paintsville, Kentucky. For more information, go to ky4arc.com. On September 28th is the 51st Annual Cleveland Hamfest and Computer Show at the Cuyahoga County Fairgrounds, 162 Eastland Road in Berea, Ohio. For more information, go to hac.org. October 4th is the DX Workshop Operating Specialty Convention from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time in the Warren County Public Library, Bob Kirby Branch, 175 Orange Skillet Court in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Talk in on the 444.300 repeater with a PL tone of 179.9. For more information, visit wkdxa.org/events. October 25th is the Hazard, Kentucky Hamfest at 1700 North Main Street in Hazard, Kentucky. For more information, contact Johnny, KY4JLB at JLB741 at yahoo.com. On November 8th, the Grant Amateur Radio Club will once again hold the famous Georgetown Hamfest at the ABCAP building, 406 West Plum Street in Georgetown, Ohio. Lots of door prizes will be given away. An amateur radio exam session will be held by the Highland Amateur Radio Association, talking on the 146.73 repeater with a PL tone of 162.2. For more information, contact Ken, KD8FKU, at KD8FKU@gmail.com.
Are you looking to upgrade your license? Do you have someone else that's interested in the hobby? Here are some upcoming exam opportunities.
The Milford Amateur Radio Club holds amateur radio testing on the third Thursday of each month at 6 p.m. at the Miami Township Civic Center, 6101 Meyer Drive in Milford, Ohio. Please pre-register at milfordhamradio.org. The Dayton Amateur Radio Association has exams frequently. For their exam schedule, email exams.w8bi@gmail.com. On September 6th at 10 a.m., the Crooked River Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio license exam session at the Oak Hill Presbyterian Church, 2403 Ardwell Avenue in Akron, Ohio. You must pre-register by calling N80QP at 330-786-8088. On September 10th, the Dial Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at 6 p.m. at 3806 Manchester Road in Middletown, Ohio. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org. On September 13th, the Westchester Amateur Radio Association will hold an amateur radio exam session at the Voice of America Museum, 8070 Tylersville Road in Westchester, Ohio. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org/sessions/WC8VOA. On September 15th at 5:30 p.m., the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at Bethesda Community Church, 989 East Mount Zion Road in Independence, Kentucky. You must register by going to hamstudy.org/sessions/NKY-VE. On October 2nd, the Laughlin Valley Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at the Dearborn County Emergency Management Office, 401 West High Street in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Register at hamstudy.org/sessions. For more information, email Dan at KE9AKS@LVARC.net. On October the 9th, the DeForest Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at 6 p.m. at the Adams County Emergency Management Office, 31 Logan's Lane in West Union, Ohio. Please pre-register by emailing K8WEH@KHWEH@ARRL.net or on the KHGE.net website. On October 11th at 10 a.m., the Scott County Amateur Radio Club will host an amateur radio testing session at the Georgetown Police Department, Georgetown, Kentucky. On October 20th at 5:30 p.m., the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at the Bethesda Community Church, 989 East Mount Zion Road in Independence, Kentucky. You must register by going to hamstudy.org/sessions/NKY-VE. On October 25th at 10 a.m., the Wilderness Road Amateur Radio Club will host an amateur radio exam session at the American Legion, Post 46 in Danville, Kentucky. On October 28th at 6 p.m., the K4TG VE team will host an amateur radio exam session at the Anderson County Extension Building. Use the rear entrance in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. On November the 8th at 10 a.m., the Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society will host an amateur radio exam session at the Red Cross Building in Lexington, Kentucky. On December 11th, the DeForest Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at 6 p.m. at the Adams County Emergency Management Office, 31 Logan's Lane in West Union, Ohio. Please pre-register by emailing K8WEH@KHWEH@ARRL.net or on the KHGE.net website. On December 13th, the Scott County Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio testing session at the Georgetown Police Department in Georgetown, Kentucky. Special thanks to this week's content contributors: WB8VNH, KY6MM, AC8MA, KY4GW, WB8YYS, KD8ZLD, K9HIO, N8LAR, K4NKU.
If you have something you think other amateur radio operators in the area would be interested in, send the information or your recorded audio file attached in an email to ab4ws.radio@gmail.com.
Covering your amateur radio news and information in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana tri-state area, this is Jack Prindle, AB4WS in Big Bone, Kentucky.